ibaruramari ryabo ntabwo dushaka kuvuga ngo byarananiranye ariko byaratunaniye aho tuvugira.
Every year, the Auditor General presents his report to Parliament, and this time around it was noted that institutions with many mishaps reduced by 2%, while the number of those with clean bills of health increased by 3%. But problems persist.
Izo mpapuro zikwiriye kuba ziriho amafaranga ataragenda. Icyambere rero ni impapuro.
You must clearly indicate why the money was spent, how the money was spent, and most importantly, you must store those records. For how long? 10 years. You cannot just claim that what you did was necessary. You must have records to show it. You cannot claim to have not wasted public funds or been negligent if you do not have the records to prove it. The only thing that can prove that there was no embezzlement is those records. Concerning misappropriated funds in general, be it because there were no records to show how they were spent, or the records were there but gross mismanagement practices led to funds lost anyway, figures seem to fluctuate between 2014 and 2019. 2014 saw more than 11.6 billion Rwandan francs, then 18.965 billion in 2015. In 2016, the figure dropped to 17.634 billion, then as low as 7.997 billion in 2017, 5.681 billion Rwandan francs in 2018, and then up to 8.605 billion last year. Surprisingly, some of the records the Auditor General says he was unable to access from public institutions when preparing his reports magically appear when it comes time for the Public Accounts Committee in Parliament to examine his report. The country's National Public Prosecution Authority says missing records of that nature may or may not lead to prosecution depending on each individual case. Any problem we find that the law does not provide for as a crime is regarded as malpractice. After investigations, we separate the crimes from the management malpractices. Crimes require evidence, and some questions must be answered. Did those people prepare the required records after the fact? We must ascertain that the records are not forgeries. If they are, then the crimes against them just increased in number. The second issue, and this is quite rampant, has to do with the way records are stored by the institutions in question. 928 dossiers have reached prosecutors in the last 5 years as a result of the Auditor General's report, and up to 1,187 people have been successfully prosecuted and found guilty in court. Prison sentences have been handed down, and fines amounting to 2.6 billion Rwandan francs imposed. Over the same period, 4.7 billion Rwandan francs was also recovered. This year, so far, 103 people have been found guilty of such crimes, 475 million Rwandan francs recovered, and 861 million Rwandan francs imposed in fines. Worrying is the fact that the Auditor General's report for the 2018-2019 fiscal year indicates that the rate of institutions properly implementing the recommendations of the Auditor General reduced from 49 to 44% compared to the previous fiscal year. Add that the same institutions keep appearing in the reports as the worst performers and projects that keep stalling, and parliamentarians are now calling for quick improvements in the way things are done.